Mike Smith and Songbird on the inside, now being put to a drive and put to the test for the first time. And on the outside, Karina Mia is even with her. And they're coming into the final furlong. And what a Coaching Club American Oaks. Songbird has repelled Karina Mia. Songbird has opened up a 3-length lead. Karina Mia has been left behind. Songbird has whistled past the graveyard of champions, winning the Coaching Club American Oaks by 5 lengths over Karina Mia.
This is Saratoga track announcer Larry Colmus, and you're listening to the Paddock Pass on 104.5 The Team.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Paddock Pass, the Alabama/Pacific Classic version of the Paddock Pass. And not only do we have 2 big races this weekend, both on each side of the coast, we have 2 big guests joining us today. Andrew Champagne of TVG is joining us, as well as Peter Aiello, the new full-time race caller of Gulfstream Park. They'll join us in just a few minutes. Great to have them both, but we'll look forward to this weekend's big races as we preview those. Of course, the big one at Saratoga is race 10 out of the 11 race card this weekend, the Alabama, and another test here for Songbird. And I do think that she will get a little bit of a test, but if I'm a gambling person, I feel like she's going to be right around your 2 to 5, 3 to 5 area. If she's 1 to 5, that might be a little bit too much here, even though I do think she's much the best. My question is going to be, is her early speed going to be quick enough? Go Maggie Go is in the race. She'll show early speed, and I don't know what exactly the plan for for Luis Saez is going to be in that race. Are they going to push like American Pharoah in the Travers last year and force Songbird to show her hand early? Or can Songbird simply just rate right off of that if she's not quick enough? She does draw an outside post. I do like that, and I think that she wins for fun this weekend. Of course, I'll have my picks online every day for that. Me and Mike James are going at it at 1045theteam.com. He hasn't had the greatest of starts to our selections, but we'll see. We have a little under 3 weeks left in the meet, and of course, you can follow those every day at 1045theteam.com. This weekend's going to be another big race. It's going to happen on the West Coast at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, and that race is much deeper than the Alabama is at Saratoga. You're going to have former Kentucky Derby winner California Chrome. He is going to be in the number 1 post, your 8 to 5 favorite. Moving outside, you're going to have Beholder. She's going to be in the number 7 post. She is your 3rd choice at 3 to 1. And of course, right outside of her is Dortmund, your 2nd choice at 5 to 2. Now, this race is much deeper than it has been in years past. I think Beholder beat a little bit of a softer field last year, and I think she's going to have all she can handle here. Although the question does raise, what exactly is Victor Espinoza going to do from the rail with California Chrome? Because now, California Chrome has always had issues of being inside of horses. We saw that at the Belmont Stakes. We've seen that in other races where the horse likes to be out in the clear. Now, that forces Victor's hand a little bit here because he's going to have to rush from the rail to try and get good early position. But Dortmund's outside of Beholder. He's going to want to be up close as well. There's a lot of pace in this race, and I think the question is going to be, I don't know if Dortmund can actually withstand the 1.25 miles. That's his question mark. Can Victor Espinoza get California Chrome in the right spot in order for him to win this race? Because I do think he's the best horse in the race. I just think the trip might be very difficult for him this weekend. Beholder is going to be my choice. I hope I get the 3 to 1 morning line. I'm probably looking more like 2 to 1, but I really think she sits a great position in this race. She learned a little bit from her loss in the last race, and I feel like Gary Stevens is going to have a great spot for this filly, and I think she's going to have first run over the closers. You're going to have big closers in Opportunity, in maybe even War Story, and Hard Aces that will be coming later in the race. I feel like she has first jump as they hit the top of the stretch, and I don't know if any of the closers can catch her. I'm going to play Beholder. Of course, we're going to be lucky enough to find out who Peter Aiello and Andrew Champagne like in that race when they join us in just a few minutes. When we look at these big races, we tend to look at just names. You know, I'm a victim of it as well, where, Songbird's a huge name. She should win for fun. Oh, Beholder's a big name. She should win. California Chrome, Kentucky Derby winner. He should win. But then the question comes down to, is there any way you can go outside of just these big names and these big races? If I'm looking that way in the TVG Pacific Classic, I'm going to look at someone like a Hard Aces or a Opportunity, for example. They're both at 8-1, 15-1 morning line. I really feel like if Beholder can't withstand the early pace that is going to be happening in this race, these two are going to be flying late, and I think you're going to get at least 6-1 on both of them because there's going to be a lot of money spread out between these three, and I think you can have a quick score here. If you have the means and the ability to go deep in this race, please do in the pick threes and pick fours, because this race is going to be one of the most pretentious and best races of the summer, in my opinion. We'll look forward to the Travers next week, which I think is going to have a deep field as well. But this could be a race that you could just sit back and watch, because it's going to be a jockey's race, and we'll see how that plays out this Saturday in Del Mar. Of course, we give you our picks every day at 1045theteam.com. If you guys have any tips if you want to come and challenge me and Mike, if you have anything you want to say, get a hold of us. I'm at 1045 Mariano. He's at announcer Mike James. And you guys need to get a hold of us if you have anything you want to change about the show, anything you wish we would do more or less. Please get a hold of me, and we'll see what we can do about that. 1045 The Team and 1045theteam.com. The Paddock Pass is proud to be joined by not one, but two guests on the phone today. All over the country, we have you covered with horse racing. Of course, we have Peter Aiello, the new full-time announcer at Gulfstream Park. And, of course, from TVG, Andrew Champagne, who gives you all of his picks in the pink sheet when you go to Saratoga every day. Make sure you grab that. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time and joining me.
Glad to be here.
My pleasure.
All right, guys. Now, Pete, Andrew has the pink sheet, as I mentioned. I do my picks every day on 1045theteam.com against Mike James, which he's getting horribly defeated now. He's trying to come back, but we'll see what happens. You guys have something a little bit similar down at Gulfstream Park. Why don't you let us know about that?
Well, first of all, I don't think that your contest with Mike would qualify as beating the expert, which is the name of the contest at Gulfstream. Because if Mike is an expert, then I'm a brain surgeon. I hope he's listening to this telecast.
I'll make sure he does.
I mean, I kind of tried to explain it to him on social media once you got ahead of him. It's kind of like letting the closer ahead of a speed horse. Mike's going to stop anyway, so you're already in front of him. You just widen from there. But the contest that we have is kind of like the same thing. You get the trash talk, and you can get a free polo shirt. All you got to do is pick more winners than Ron Nicoletti, and you can play from the comfort of your home anywhere in North America using the hashtag #BeatTheExpert on Twitter and Facebook.
Now, of course, we can follow you on Twitter at Announcer P and Andrew, you at Andrew Champagne. Are you guys giving out picks at all on Twitter, Pete? I'll start with you.
I hate Twitter, so I would say that the easiest way to get hold of me is on Facebook. I know that's how Andrew and I like to banter back and forth. I'll answer any and all tweets, but I don't go on the offensive much. I'm pretty much a defensive Twitter guy. So if you want to know something, feel free, but I'm not going to volunteer, at least on Twitter.
How about you, Andrew?
Meanwhile, with me, I will tweet out multi-race exotics tickets that are available to play on TVG.com. Lately, I focus on late pick fours at Saratoga as well as some pick fives. I'll throw some stuff out for Del Mar on the weekends as well, and especially with the card coming up this weekend with the TVG Pacific Classic with a huge guaranteed pool there. I'm going to be tackling that.
Oh, absolutely. And guys, unfortunately, we go back to Saratoga. I unfortunately went 5 out of 6 in the pick six. I guess I can't say unfortunately. I still got paid, but I had Destin singled in there, and he disappointed me. Now, Pete, you guys do a pick six as well down there, but it has a little bit of a twist. What exactly is that twist?
Yeah, it's the Rainbow Six, a la the Fortune Six, previously of Beulah Park, which was originally taken from Puerto Rico, which means that if you get 5 out of 6, you get nothing. And if you're the only person to pick the only 6 of 6, you get the entire jackpot. You get paid if you get 6 regardless, but if there's a jackpot pool, which there currently is, more than $100,000, then you can take down the entire jackpot. All you got to do is have the only ticket.
So unfortunately, you're telling me at Saratoga I got $90. At Gulfstream Park I'd get nothing.
Yeah, well, and you could have still beat the expert. You and Mike James. I know Mike can't splurge for a polo shirt, but maybe he can give you a T-shirt from his Belcourt, North Dakota days.
Yeah, he told me all about those North Dakota days. But now, of course, Andrew, we'll go to your side of the country now. This weekend's big race is the TVG Pacific Classic, of course, the company that you proudly work for. You have California Chrome stuck on the inside at 8-5. Dortmund is the second choice, and then Beholder. Now, you guys have a Beat the Expert down there, Pete. Now, let's do an expert pick with us. Let's go to the Pacific Classic. We'll start with you, Pete. Who do you think wins this race?
Oh, I have to go on the offensive. Well, first and foremost, I have to at least illustrate to Andrew and all the other listeners out there that my nickname is the Catfish for a reason. I tend to feed on the bottom. The lower class the race, the better I do. So this is taking me completely out of my game. But I think from a gambling standpoint, you have to bet against Beholder. From a racing fan standpoint, you certainly would love to see her win and win well. But for me, Dortmund is the underlay of the race. I think Hard Aces makes the ticket somewhere at a big number. And Opportunity, Baffert seems to have a pretty good gauge on this race. I think this horse is coming into the race pretty well. Might upset the field. California Chrome drawn inside.
Okay, Pete, I have to admire you really taking a stand there by naming half the horses in the field. I'm going to get crazy with the cheese whiz on you here. California Chrome is drawn to the inside. We know he does not like the inside post. That was illustrated in the Pennsylvania Derby when he ran up against Bayer the first time. You have Beholder breaking from post number 7, coming off of a loss that not a lot of people saw coming. Stellar Wind is no joke, but you have to think the Beholder of 2015 would have won that race and done so pretty handily. Dortmund on the outside has a lot of speed and has a ton of ability. We don't know if he wants a mile and a quarter. That seems to be the elephant in the room. I think he's more of a mile and an eighth type horse than a mile and a quarter horse. As such, I'm going to take a little bit of a stand with number 2 Opportunity, as Pete mentioned, the other Bob Baffert. I feel as though California Chrome absolutely has to go from his inside post. We know Dortmund's going to go. We know Beholder is going to sit close. I think this race could very well collapse and set up for a closer at a big price.
See, now, Andrew...
Brian, I mean, come on. The guy sits here and bashes me for talking about half the field, but he ends up having the same ideology and the same play. Opportunity as an upset from off the speed. And, oh, by the way, Andrew, Hard Aces is going to come from way out of it, too, and he's going to be a big number. So we're playing on the same team here, maybe just different spots of the lineup.
Well, the difference is I said it better than you did.
Oh, man. I knew I was looking forward to this interview all week, and it's not disappointing. I do agree with you guys that there's a lot of speed in this race, and California Chrome has to go from his inside post. But as both of you mentioned, Beholder will probably sit a pretty good trip, and I think she's going to have first run against your closers and Opportunity and maybe even Hard Aces. So if Beholder is 2-1, I think she's going to be a really good play. The question is, will Dortmund and California Chrome get the money that they did earlier in the San Diego, and off of that race be able to get played? I'm hoping I get at least 2 or maybe even 3-1 on Beholder. I think that's going to be my play.
You might get that, Brian. 3-1, I think, might be a little bit unrealistic. I feel as though Beholder is the type of horse that's going to take a lot of $2 win bets, and eventually that's going to weigh her price down. Still, I wouldn't bet against 2-1 or even 5-2 in this race. There's going to be a chasm between the top 3 betting choices, obviously. California Chrome at 8-5, I think he's going to go off a tad lower than that. My guess is Beholder and Dortmund will go off in the 2-1, 5-2 range, and I think you'll be able to get at least 10-1 on any other horse in this race that you like.
So let's recap here. I have Beholder, and both of you are going with Opportunity, but went very different ways about going about it. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
There's no controversy there, unfortunately. I figure we'll get controversy some other race, maybe.
Okay, so we'll move on from that race, and we'll come back here to Saratoga. The Alabama this weekend, I'm fortunate enough to be there when Songbird won the Coaching Club American Oaks, and she was challenged for the first time in her career and put off away of Karina Mia. Now, this is her next test. You guys, in my opinion, she's the best 3-year-old in the country, but do you see her being beat at all, or are you going to actually single her in any of your pick 3s and pick 4s in this race? Go ahead, Andrew.
No, Pete, I hope you're ready because I'm not going to take long. If Songbird runs 60% of her Coaching Club American Oaks race, she still wins.
Now I'm supposed to respond to that. Is this debate format?
Yes, go ahead, Pete.
I have absolutely zero objection to that statement. I will say this. I'm still waiting, and maybe this is just the jaded South Florida guy in me. The bottom side of her pedigree, Ivana Vinalot, was awesome and every bit as impressive as Songbird on a much more regional level, by the way. But at some point, she kicked into about the fall of her 3-year-old year, and the talent was gone. Now, certainly I'm not saying that I think there's going to be a huge form reversal for Songbird. I think she wins and wins for fun. However, if anyone wants a chink in the armor, that's pretty much the only one I can come up with.
Well, I think we all agree on this, that she's going to win the race, but I guess we'll go off to my previous statement. Do either of you think that she's the best 3-year-old in the country, not just the best 3-year-old filly?
Pete, do you want to tackle this one first, or should I step up to the plate here?
Go ahead, Mr. Champagne. It's all yours.
I appreciate that, Mr. Aiello, and Jesus, that's so polite of you. I would certainly see no objection to the statement of being the best 3-year-old in the country, regardless of gender. Hopefully we get to see her against the boys at some point. It looks as though that's not in the cards as a 3-year-old. However, let's not forget, owner Rick Porter did campaign Havre de Grace, and Havre de Grace won a couple of big races against the boys as a 4- and 5-year-old. So with a little bit of luck, maybe we'll see her against the boys next year if all goes well.
Well, I guess I have to apologize for Brian. We don't script these things, guys. So Andrew and I had come on here pretty much figuring that we would cut promos on each other like the 1990 WWF days. But at this point, it sounds like we're a hawk and animal of the Legion of Doom. We're on the same team here.
All right, so since you guys are on the same team on the track, let's go off of it now. Obviously, you guys see on Facebook, I put my picks up every day for Saratoga, and Pete, you've gone at me how I'm all over Mike James right now. I'm absolutely killing him. But you guys had a little bit of fun on one of those posts. Now, Pete, I know you're a softball guy. You play a lot of softball down there in South Florida. Andrew took some shots at you. Want to say something back to him about that?
No, actually, I appreciated the fact that he's taking shots back at me. But before we get into any potential trash talking, it should be full disclosure. We lost again yesterday. So we are the perennial alley-dar to Affirmed at this point. We are the better horse, but we have not been able to prove it, as Affirmed has outgamed us, Affirmed being the Gulfstream jockeys. But it should be noted for anybody listening to this, I have never met Andrew, and at this point, I can tell you that the first time I realized he worked for TVG is when Brian introduced him today. So I guess I'm kind of a little intimidated.
Hey, I'm a pretty intimidating guy, Pete, and I have a question for you. You say that you keep running up against better horses in softball games. Have you and your assorted group of ringers ever actually won a softball game down there in South Florida? I feel as though your ringer recruiting skills might be a bit subpar. In fact, your status as player-manager, you might be on the hot seat a little bit here if you guys can't get through.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the post-game press conference, there was a lot of that same talk about me being on the hot seat. I can tell you this, our ownership group is actually potentially worse than Jeffrey Luria. So if we don't have any support from the front office, it's awful hard to get anybody behind us.
Way to throw them under the bus, Pete.
I love
listen,
it.
Facts are facts. Now, I will say this, and I would love an open challenge, not only to Andrew, not only to Brian, but to anybody else listening to this. And Andrew, I know you're going to salivate and lick your chops when you hear this, not because you're going to take me up on the challenge, but because you're going to tease me for making the challenge. If anyone would like to fly to South Florida and take me on in an Olympic quality badminton event, you will lose, and I will give you a 2-point head start.
Wow, badminton. Really going with a sport that's on the cutting edge there, Pete.
I was expecting like a softball challenge, and then we jumped into badminton. But Pete, I don't know. That sounds pretty. You sound pretty confident on that. So I don't know if I could be able to take you up on that. But softball, that might be another story.
Well, I mean, I'm a 9-year-old claimer that runs on the bottom at Thistledown for 3,500. I mean, you guys are sitting here talking about Saratoga and Del Mar, and I'm lucky to get past the pre-race vet.
No, Pete, come on. You guys have the Florida Derby. You see all these horses down there, but come on. Let's see. Maybe at some point we can get together when we go to South Florida.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about my physical well-being here.
Oh, come on. I'll bring Mike James down. You taking shots at his physical well-being. I'll bring him down. We could play some softball, maybe some badminton. Then you could teach me how to play highlight or even bet on it because I have no idea what's going on there.
Well, I hope we can get Andrew in on the highlight deal because that sounds like a pretty darn good plan to me. At least with Mike James on the field, I know that I won't be the slowest or the least agile guy.
What do you think, Andrew?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure if you heard it earlier, but only degenerates bet on highlights. So I'm not entirely sure whether to shake my head or to bow down and admire you as a fellow degenerate. So you've got me pretty conflicted. That said, I wouldn't have mind coming down to South Florida and seeing this, but that private jet that Gulfstream Park gave you when they hired you as a full-time race caller. By the way, congratulations on the appointment. Really happy for you.
Well, I'd like to say that I'm living the Ric Flair life. I may be a kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing son of a gun, but limousine riding is not part of the equation at this point.
Nuts.
All right. Of course, you guys can follow them on Twitter, even though Pete doesn't like it, at Announcer Pete and at Andrew Champagne. Guys, it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys giving me some time. And, of course, I can't wait to hear what everyone has to say about this wonderful interview. Thanks for the time, guys.
Hey, Brian, you know what's going to end up happening? I want to do one final handicapping bit here.
Okay.
When the Champions Meet rolls around at Gulfstream in the winter, I have a prediction. I have a prediction that both Paul DeLuca and Andrew Champagne will be on the Aiello squad against the jockeys, and that will be the difference maker. You can get Vegas opening odds of 6-5 on that.
Ooh.
You won't be able to afford Paul.
I have to call a bunch of his former teammates and former players to see what kind of shape he's still in. You have any insight on that, Andrew?
I know he can still hit a fastball about as well as anybody. I know for a fact he would be an upgrade over Pete.
I also agree with that.
Well, in that case, I'm going to have to get on the phone with him and get him on my team, and then we could see what happens as we go down to South Florida at some point next year for the championship meet.
Well, the great thing about it is before I let you go, we're all three big racing fans, and that's what brings us together, even when we bust each other's chops about everything else. And, Mike, you were just kidding, by the way.
Oh, of course. Mike knows that we're only kidding. He's a great friend of ours, even though for me, I actually get to see him. You guys just get to touch keys with him every now and then on Facebook. But I'm sure I'll hear about this for the rest of the meet. So appreciate it, Pete.
Take care, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one. And there they go. Guys, appreciate you giving me the time as always. Good luck this weekend, everyone out there. If you're playing the TVG Pacific Classic, if you're playing the Alabama, best of luck to you. And, of course, we'll see you in the paddock.